One afternoon, Princess Ego was so bored and very angry in her room as she watched the grand entrance of another batch of suitors entering the palace compound through her window that she decided to do the unthinkable. Once upon a time, in a beautiful continent named Africa, lay a great nation known as the Kingdom of Ngala. The Kingdom of Ngala was known far and wide for its harmony and the graceful, classy royal family that governed it. The king of Ngala and his wife, the queen, had an only child, a daughter whose name was Princess Ego. Princess Ego was known far and wide for her extraordinary beauty. She had an amazing skin that glowed like a fire ebony and a sparkly pretty eyes that could warm the coldest of hearts. Princess Ego was not only beautiful physically, but possessed a heart as pure as gold and a mind as sharp as a blade. Many people in the land of Ngala referred to Princess Ego as the wise princess, as she was known to be so wise beyond her age. Princess Ego was so compassionate towards the people of her father's land that sometimes she visits the helpless in their village by herself and shares gifts to them. Princess Ego's kindness and humility endeared her to everyone, from the wealthiest noble to the poorest villagers. Princess Ego was her father's pride. Her parents loved her so much and showered her with many gifts all the time. Princess Ego's parents would always tell her jokingly that they will make sure they find her a suitable husband that will surpass their level of pampering towards her when she was old enough to get married, as they never wanted her to worry for anything in life nor to suffer. One beautiful evening, as Princess Ego was returning from her usual evening walks, she came across a dwarf weaving a basket outside a village hut. Princess Ego was captivated by what the dwarf was doing. She stood still and started watching keenly as the dwarf neatly passed the weavers over and under the spokes in alternating patterns. Princess Ego was amazed. Princess Ego went a little closer to the dwarf and asked if the dwarf would allow her take a closer and clearer look at the basket he was weaving. The dwarf was so shocked the moment he brought up his head and saw the princess of Ngala land in front of him. He fell flat on his face and started apologizing for absolutely nothing. The dwarf's apologies amused Princess Ego a lot, who immediately asked the dwarf to stand up. The dwarf offered the princess a chair and introduced himself as Kachi. "What a beautiful name!" exclaimed Princess Ego. Princess Ego asked Kachi to explain what he was doing to her. Kachi excitedly but shakily briefly explained the basket making process to Princess Ego, ranging from material selection to the preparation to the base formation to the side weaving to the shaping and finally the finishing and drying. Princess Ego was beyond grateful as she listened attentively to Kachi's explanations and visible body movements to make sure she understood what he was saying. When Princess Ego got home that day, she couldn't stop thinking about the basket making lessons she had with Kachi that day. She was so wowed at how gifted and talented Kachi was that she made up her mind to start stopping by Kachi's shop occasionally until she perfectly learned how to weave a basket herself. Soon, Princess Ego found herself spending more time than anticipated at Kachi's shop almost every day. Princess Ego wasn't only learning basket making from Kachi, but she was learning many other things about life only the ordinary people would know, and that made her so happy. Soon, one of Princess Ego's maidens, whose name was Ndidi, started feeling uncomfortable with the amount of time they usually spent at Kachi's place. Ndidi hated Kachi so much simply because he was a dwarf, and she didn't like the idea that Princess Ego was stooping so low by spending time with someone she, Ndidi, believed was an abomination because of his looks. So Ndidi secretly reported Princess Ego's growing friendship with Kachi to the queen. The queen was furious. After several secret investigations by the queen confronted her daughter Princess Ego as well as expressed her disapproval of Princess Ego's decision to keep belittling herself by spending time with a dwarf. The queen reminded her daughter Princess Ego that there were great expectations of her by the family and that she had a family name to protect. She should live up to the expectations they had for her and stop going to the dwarf's place. The queen equally promised to get the princess a refined basket-making tutor that was befitting of her status if learning basket-making was what the princess was craving. The queen's words broke Princess Ego's heart so much. Princess Ego put up a very strong defense for Kachi before her mother and told her mother that she didn't need any refined basket-making tutor and will not stop being friends with Kachi. The queen, at this point, had no option than to report the situation to her husband, the king. The king, on hearing this, was so disappointed at his daughter. He went ahead to forbid King Ego from leaving the palace till further notice. Some palace soldiers were sent to issue a stern warning to Kachi to stay away from Princess Ego, else he will be arrested. The king and his queen, irrespective of how hot their daughter was over all they were doing, went ahead to make a declaration that the floor was now open for prospective suitors to start coming forward with their biddings for Princess Ego's hand in marriage, as she was now of a marriageable age. This announcement for marriage proposals for Princess Ego by the village town crier broke Kachi's heart, coupled with the warning he got from the royal guards that he should stay away from the princess. Kachi missed the princess a lot and was deeply torn apart over everything going on. He, however, respected himself and stayed away completely, as he knew no one would save a poor man like him, worse off a dwarf, if he disobeyed the orders of the royal family of Ungala. Soon, many suitors from far and wide began flocking the kingdom of Ungala with hopes of winning Princess Ego's hand in marriage. Majority of the suitors were wealthy princes and noblemen from within and outside the kingdom of Ungala. The suitors were all keen in outdoing themselves, as most of them showed up at the great Ungala palace with different amazing and expensive gifts so as to impress Princess Ego, as well as show off how wealthy and powerful they were. The king and queen of Ngala kingdom were so happy because the caliber of suitors that were showing up at their palace seeking for Princess Ego's hand in marriage were their answered prayers. The suitors were all graciously welcomed with open arms and large feasts by the king and his wife, who were so happy. Princess Ego, on the other hand, didn't fancy or desire any of her numerous suitors. The material possessions the suitors were turning up with to impress her weren't enticing to her at all. Princess Ego longed for a love that was genuine, true, and filled with mutual respect and understanding. One afternoon, Princess Ego was so bored and very angry in her room as she watched the grand entrance of another batch of suitors entering the palace compound through her window that she decided to do the unthinkable. She dressed like one of the palace maidens and snuck off the palace for Kachi's shop. Kachi was so speechless at the sight of Princess Ego. He quickly ran to her and hugged her, as it had been months they last saw themselves. Princess Ego, who was a bit surprised at Kachi's hugs and joy on seeing her, was also surprised at how happy she equally was herself. It was at that moment that they both realized within themselves that they had missed each other so much, and there was something deeper about how they felt for themselves than just the ordinary good friendship they shared. Princess Ego and Kachi chatted on and told each other many amazing stories of a lot of things that had happened in their lives within the times they were apart. They finished up a basket Kachi was weaving together and even shared a meal happily. Soon, it was starting to get late, and the princess needed to head back to the palace before anyone detected her absence at the palace. As Princess Ego reached for the door, Kachi drew her back and told her to forgive him, but he wanted her to know that he was starting to fall in love with her and would love her to be his wife if she will have him. Kachi's words melted Princess Ego's heart, but the many thoughts of the tsunami the mention of her love with Kachi will cause in her home made her refuse to respond as she quickly ran away. Unknown to the princess, after she left Kachi's shop for the palace, some palace guards who had detected where she was when her absence at the palace got known stormed Kachi's shop on the orders of Princess Ego's parents, arrested Kachi, and locked up Kachi at the palace prison. When Princess Ego finally learned about Kachi's imprisonment, she angrily confronted her parents, and for the first time since Princess Ego was born, her father, the king, slapped her. The king told Princess Ego that Kachi will only be released from prison after her marriage to one of the eligible, handsome, wealthy suitors that were seeking for her hand in marriage. This broke Princess Ego's heart so much as she quietly left for her room. In the princess' quiet moments, she would reminisce on her loving hugs with Kachi the day she snuck away to see him, and Kachi's confession about his love for her, and cry quietly as her heart greatly yearned for Kachi and missed him a lot. One fateful day, while the palace was up in big merriment with another batch of suitors that had turned up again seeking for the princess's hand in marriage. Princess Ego gracefully walked into the palace ballroom and informed everyone that she was finally ready to pick a suitor, as she had spotted someone she truly liked and desired. There were loud cheers of jubilation and joy everywhere. The king and queen were so pleased to hear this. All the suitors on ground were extremely happy as they each flexed their muscles and bragged with overconfidence on how certain they were that it would be them. When Princess Ego finally took the floor, she thanked all her suitors for their great love and admiration for her and the amazing gifts they had all showered her with. She told them that despite how amazing they all were, they should forgive her, as she was bound to marry just one of them and not all of them. There were echoes of bragging and laughter yet again amongst the rich suitors, who were also certain individually that it was them. It was at that moment that the princess informed everyone that her choice was Kachi, the village dwarf. Everywhere went silent, and soon there were bigger echoes of laughter of disbelief. The king and queen were so angry at their daughter, as they had never felt that humiliated their entire lives. But Princess Ego didn't care. She avoided staring at her parents as she continued to speak. Princess Ego told everyone that Kachi was her choice and only choice, or else she would stay single forever, as she was not going to marry anyone she wasn't in love with. Despite the shocking look on the faces of the crowd, Princess Ego went further by tearfully informing everyone that she didn't care if Kachi was a dwarf or not, as he was whom many of them will never be. At this point, the king ordered that the microphone be turned off while the princess went on her knees and started weeping. The king quietly spoke in low tones with his wife, after which he angrily ordered his guards to bring Kachi to the ballroom. There was a growing tension everywhere, especially on the face of Princess Ego, who was now starting to feel bad at how selfish her actions were without considering the harm it may bring to Kachi. Everyone felt pity for Kachi, whom they all believed was about to face either a banishment or execution as he walked towards the king's throne in chains. The king ordered Kachi to publicly tell everyone what he wanted with his daughter. Kachi took the floor and bravely spoke of his love for Princess Ego and his desires to marry her. He pleaded not to be judged by his physical appearance and be seen as a man with very pure intentions towards Princess Ego. He went further to inform everyone that if his love for Princess Ego will lead to an execution for him, that he will willingly and happily accept death, as he could not imagine ever living his life without Princess Ego. And he was so grateful that someone loved him after all in this life. There was another round of laughter up in the air from the crowd after Kachi's speech. The king ordered everyone to be silent as he started to address them. The king told everyone how proud he was of his daughter and Kachi for choosing to use their love to remind them that their village was known for love and harmony and not for discriminations of any kind. There were silent murmurings everywhere, but no one dared boldly interrupt the king of Ngala kingdom when he was speaking. The king thanked his daughter immensely for standing her ground and reminding him of the care for humanity he instilled very deeply into her right from when she was a child. The king further told the crowd that his daughter, the princess, has made her choice and her choice should be respected. Most of the disappointed suitors quietly started taking their leave, but the king didn't care. Princess Ego was so happy as she and Kachi quickly went on their knees and started thanking the king and queen, as well as apologizing to them for the times they disobeyed their orders. The king and queen went ahead to throw a glorious wedding feast for Princess Ego and Kachi. The kingdom of Ngala from that day onwards entered a new era of acceptance and unity, and they all lived happily ever after. This is the end of my story. The moral of this story is that in this life, everyone deserves to love and be loved. It doesn't matter how we humans sometimes want things to be, as love, which is of God, knows no boundaries. It comes to all of us from unexpected places. Secondly, we should never forget our humanity when dealing with other people, especially those people with different physical appearance from us, because good things sometimes come in small packages in this life. Thank you for watching.